The nation-to-nation organizing that was happening at Standing Rock, I think, was prefigured in a little ways a couple years back during the Keystone Pipeline with mutual defense compacts that were being created between different nations that were going to be impacted by that. And there was kind of a curious alliance at the time called the Cowboy and Indian Alliance that kind of emerged from that. And at this moccasins on the ground training that was happening at Pine Ridge about 4 years ago, and this rancher got up, and this white rancher got up and spoke to this room of Native people about, the government's coming to take my land. And then this, elder got up, his grandma gets up afterwards, and she's like, well, welcome to the club. And I think one thing that's happening is that because capital is kind of increasingly needing these sort of access easements, right, to move this product, the racial identification doesn't quite matter, right? The tar sands blockade down in Texas happened on a white man's land, right, who bought that land but was also kind of put in this challenging situation vis-a-vis the state and vis-a-vis capital. And I think this goes directly to your other question on how do we organize, right? Because ultimately there is not some union or nonprofit or state entity that can help this constellation of fights happening. It's really more of a nation-to-nation, community-to-community defense capacity that we're trying to build, both against pipelines, but also against renewed white supremacist violence, right? So perhaps in immigrant communities and urban areas, right, this mutual defense capacity to resist roundups, deportations, white supremacist violence, perhaps could take a note from this and the need to create these mutual defense compacts and have these horizontal relationships with a capacity to resist violence and a capacity to also inflict and come back and stop pipelines and exercise and use power. And I think that was the big question infrastructurally that I think should be coming out of this, and certainly kind of within the logistics and infrastructure world that allowed it. We had these big questions: where do these resources go next? There's dozens of emergent struggles that need this sort of support, that need the sort of donations that have been coming in. And so that question of how do we relate horizontally to be able to create that sort of infrastructure to defend our world against this encroaching one, whether it's the alt-right or increasing pipelines or whatnot. But I think that those are crucial questions that we continue to hash out. And I think seeing the horizontal relationships and the complexity involved of trying to organize across difference, across racial, ethnic, geographic difference. And I think there's a real rich experience at Standing Rock, and I hope kind of we continue to reflect on that and try to distill some lessons out from that.